Hello and welcome to the Newspapers with Jim. It is Saturday, the 18th of June 2022. And we are starting today with everybody's favourite middle market newspaper, the Daily Mail. And just to remind you as well of its prestige, the Daily Mail, of course, is Britain's daily newspaper of the year. It's not clear, according to whom, that it's the best newspaper. Quite possibly the owner, Jonathan Harmsworth, the fourth Viscount Rothermere. After all, he is a Viscount and so is perfectly allowed, perfectly capable of deciding what the best newspaper in Britain is. And for a meagre £1.20, you can get this quality reporting. On the front page today, we can see that the Mail have decided to continue with the Jubilee celebrations and have continued to report exclusively on the front page on the royal family, talking about William at 40, which is how old he is now. So just letting everyone know that William is 40. Good to know. The age of the future King of England. King. Most intimate portrait ever of the future King of Britain. Major new series starts today, so there's more to come. So, if you read through the paper today and you think, what I really would like more of, more intimate portraits of Prince William. And in particular, what I really want to know about is Wills's grief and anger. So he's feeling grief and anger because of his brother Harry, another royal person who's been in a bit of trouble lately, hasn't he, Harry, for marrying a mixed race person, basically. William is mourning the collapse of his relationship with his brother Harry, and the Mail thinks that's something that the country wants to know. They want to know about the falling out of brothers, and much like the Gallagher brothers of Oasis fame, this will be part of the news cycle for many months, perhaps years to come, and the plebs of Britain will lap it up. Accompanying pictures of these ladies wearing similar clothes, of course, at the races. This is another thing in Britain that's popular, is going to the horse races and wearing big hats. And we can see here on the right the Will's mother, who died in a car accident. The nation's favourite, Princess Diana. And then here on the left, you've got Will's current wife, future queen, I think, wearing a similar dress. So, it's good reporting on the news there, isn't it? That this dress that someone wore in 1988 is someone's wearing a similar one now, 30 years or 34 years later. And there's a man that links them together, isn't there? So she was the mum, and now she's married to him. It's all about their relationship to him, and now they wore similar dresses, see? And that's front page news in Britain, and from the daily newspaper of the year, the Daily Mail. Moving on next to the Daily Express. I don't know who reads Daily Express. Obviously, enough people do, because it's still in print and people buy it. But most newspapers tend to have a political leaning. I suppose the Daily Express, you could say, is right wing, but that would be to credit it with any kind of consistency in its sort of ideology, which I just don't think it has. So the Daily Express, of course, and always remember Daily Express, I think it's appropriate and relevant to have a little what is that? Crusader from the Crusades on the front page, in between the two words Daily and Express. So. But they stand united with the people of Ukraine. United with foreigners, as long as they're white. So the big story the Express is going with is save the summer. For whom? Work longer to fix flight chaos. So what they're not even reporting on the news. They're just giving a demand here, aren't they? They're telling people what to do. The minister urges airport staff to be more productive in the run-up to the holiday season. Airport workers, so this is the key bit here. Airport workers can save the nation's summer because it's on them to do so. It's up to them to save the nation's summer. The nation isn't going to save itself, but these workers can save the nation by working overtime. What are you planning to do this summer? Are you planning to go on holiday, or are you planning to work overtime during a cost of living crisis with wage stagnation, the cost of everything going up at a greater rate than most people's wages? But you should work overtime anyway. Work extra for shit pay with low level job security, just so someone else who's got more money than you can go to Spain for a fortnight with their little fat little piggy kids. Do that. Save the summer. Save it. Save us. Save summer, you lazy bastards. Working, expecting time out, expecting to not have to work 40, 50 hours a week. How dare you? Some of us need to go on holiday. Work longer. It's your fault. It's your fault. So work more. We want to go on holiday. So that's the tone of the Daily Express. And then, work more. Loads of free stuff inside. Free stuff for old pensioners who are a bit racist. A delicious 8-page food pullout. The food pullout isn't the thing that's delicious, by the way. It's the food that's delicious. It's just not very. If you buy the Express, I feel if for the people who buy the Express, they may need this extra warning. If you buy it, the food pullout isn't delicious. It's got recipes on it for delicious food. So don't think that if you buy the Express, there's going to be a pullout that you can eat. I mean, you could eat it probably, but it won't be delicious. And there's a TV guide and some puzzles. So it's nice, isn't it? That just because you're racist doesn't mean you can't enjoy a good puzzle. And yeah, get back to work, you lazy bastards. Moving on for the Daily Express then. The Financial Times, everyone's favourite neoliberal rag. National Newspaper of the Year. So, hang on a minute. What was the Mail? I've lost my thing. Doesn't matter. I think the Mail was Daily Newspaper of the Year. Daily Newspaper of the Year. According to who? Don't know. And then this is the National Newspaper of the Year. Again, not clear who. Could be anyone. This is business, so I don't know. There's not much to say in here. It's stuff about Hillary Clinton. This is the FT weekend, so this is rate rises and global stocks diving. It's not really relatable. They make them. This is for business people. Just a big picture here of a wealthy young person. That necklace here probably costs more than most of us earn in a year. But it's the kind of people that read this newspaper. They've got a lot of money. If you ever read the FT, it's worth picking up every now and then to look at the property pages in the back and the kind of places you can buy. I'm going to skip past that because I haven't got much to say. The Guardian, everyone's the Champagne Socialist one, the the kind of left-wing but not really very supportive of left-wing causes magazine, well, newspaper, not magazine. Schools, pools and libraries face massive cuts. Okay, so I mean, to be fair, that is more news than just putting pictures of Prince William on the front or demanding people get back to work. That's actually news, but it's focusing on cuts. PM accused of showing total contempt for the North. I mean, this is very much the Guardian's bread and butter. But interestingly, they do, particularly for the weekend, they kind of lose themselves with sort of middle class bourgeois nonsense. Harry Potter, the making of Harry Potter. I mean, classically, the Guardian to be 20 years behind the times. Like, how are people still talking about Harry Potter when? I mean, this book, the first book, came out in the early 90s, the mid 90s, and then some top quality journalism. And what's the point of bay leaves? So again, if you were just wondering, and of course, if you're the type of person that buys a Guardian, you are probably wondering, deeply concerned about the point and history of bay leaves, and whether you should get them in your Waitrose shop. And then if you want, you can have an Italian summer pudding as well. So, or maybe you want to go on holiday to France. Take a month off of work, off of freelancing or whatever it is you do, and maybe go to France and have some bay leaves and stay in a nice place while reading a book that was published 25 years ago. Good. Next, we've got The Eye. The Eye is a paper. It's kind of not a paper of its own. It's a summary of all the other news. If you read through The Eye, they've got a matrix, the news matrix, and it's basically just taking stories from other news sources. Newspaper, another one it claims to be newspaper of the year. So it's hard to know. Wrong thing. It's hard to know who to trust, isn't it? Because they're all claiming to be newspaper of the year, national paper of the year, daily paper of the year. You can make up any category and claim you're that of the year, aren't you? Journalism you can trust in The Eye. Yeah, because it's other people's journalism, is it? I don't. The public tell Johnson. I don't think anyone in the public has spoken to Johnson. He clearly has no idea what the public thinks, based on the way he is acting now to help the UK economy. So this is about the fact that government, I think the government is not doing enough to tackle the cost of living crisis, and it isn't. Well, or maybe it is. I mean, we're paying more taxes, and we're paying more money for things that we need, whilst billionaires and corporations and companies are paying less in taxes and are keeping many of the profits of the higher prices, not passing that on to their consumers. So they are doing something. It's just not for you, and it never was meant to be for you. It was always meant to be for the ruling classes and businesses. And then just some other shit around here. Don't even really care about The Eye and The Independent. I don't really want to include this on the list in the future because it's not actually a newspaper. It's not in print. It's not online, and so we're gonna whiz past that because it's not a paper. The Mirror, the working class newspaper, tabloid. But it's not. It doesn't mean it's any good. It's just so you can still see they focus on the royals because that's what people care about. There you go. Betting, so a free bet with William Hill. Racing, so they're just going after all the cliches of working class stereotypes. They care about Macca. So that if you check the newspapers a lot, like I do, you'll notice that Paul McCartney appears in the Mirror in the same way that the royal family appear in the Express or the Mail. He's kind of the royal family for the Mirror. So, yeah. News? Is it news? Not really. we'll continue. The Daily Telegraph, the Tory paper. Here we go. Britain's best quality newspaper. So they've all got some tagline where they claim to be the best something or other, and it's a load of bollocks. And as ever, of course, the Daily Telegraph, being the quality newspaper that it is, going for the hard-hitting journalism on the weekend and making women self-conscious about how they dress and telling them how they should dress sexy in your 50s. Because when you're 50, possibly, you've had kids, you may even be a grandparent. It's important to remain sexy, isn't it? It's important to be appealing and to conform to the social standards for attractiveness. So yeah, good reporting, good idea. Telegraph, make sure women are sexy. I mean, why stop there? What about if you're 60, 70s? How to be sexy when you're 90? Why not stop there? Not doing enough. So next time, let's see that, how to be sexy in the old folks home, and get slammed. Right. The Telegraph, being the paper of the Tories, of course, this is the elite, the property owners of Britain, the aristocracy, the independent private school educated elite establishment Tory people. Some overlap with the Times there, of course, but we must not bow to the strikers. So this is referring to the planned rail strike in the next few weeks, and the idea that the owners of the country, and quite frankly, there's probably a good proportion of the Daily Telegraph readership that will be shareholders in rail companies, the idea that they would bow down to strikers who are just claiming or just demanding fair wages and good working conditions, the idea that we would give any concessions to the rabble, to the plebs, how dare they? We will not bow. We would rather the country go without public transport for 3 days than to give in to their demands, or even to start negotiating with them. I mean, it ignores the fact that these people, the people that read the Telegraph, are wealthy people. They own property. They own companies a lot of the time. They're fine. They haven't got to worry about going to work. They don't work. They own things. That's it. Some more shit about these twats. I'm kind of sick of seeing them. We've just had the Jubilee, so you may have guessed I'm not particularly pro royal family. So let's just for my benefit, that is. Priti Patel attacks the scandalous, this is the European Court of Human Rights. So the European Court put together to defend human rights, and Priti Patel, who's Britain's Home Secretary, she's appalled that any decision would be made that was in favour of people's basic human rights. That's scandalous to her. She would rather make decisions without considering the impact of the decision on people's human rights. And the fact that you have to consider human rights in any decision making is just Brussels bureaucratic red tape, and the sooner we can get rid of it, the better. Now, the Times, the only paper not claiming to be the best of anything in Britain, so that's interesting. And then we've got the big news story for them is the idea of increasing wages is too risky. The Treasury chief fears 70s style inflationary spiral because paying people based on the value they create in society, it's just too risky for their business models. The idea that you would pay someone based on the work that they've done and the value they've created, that doesn't work with most businesses' business models. Their business models are based on extracting the value of fixed rate labour and keeping that money themselves and passing that on to the owners of the company. So, the idea that we would have to give some of our money to the people who do the work is it's too risky, because they'd have too much money then, and importantly, we'd have less money, and that wouldn't be good. That wouldn't be good for business, because it's important that we keep the profits, because we own the company. Even though we don't do the work, we own it. And so that's what the business model is. And it would be too risky to not have that business model for us, because we would risk losing money, all that money. And it's our money, not yours. So it's we don't want to risk losing that. Some twat with no trousers on. I don't even want to. This shit again. Every fucking paper had her in it, didn't it? Paul McCartney again at 80. I thought he's not aging as quickly as everyone else, because I swear he was like 75 10 years ago. Slowing down as he gets older. I've aged 10 years in the time it's taken him to get 2 years older. So that's the times, and I'm getting increasingly bored with it. Let's end on a bit of a high note. The Daily Star, which, to be fair, is not a paper. I don't know how it continues to be in circulation, but it is. They go for puns a lot of the time. So here we've got a news story. Actually, ironically, probably of all the papers we've seen today, the only paper that is reporting on actual news, the fact that the Queen's Jubilee has caused an increase in COVID cases by 43%. So, COVID isn't over yet. We know that, don't we? COVID is still going around. It's just that, Boris Johnson's government was found to be breaking its own rules by having all those parties. And of course, how could they maintain any level of authority and tell the country to continue to follow any kind of lockdown rules when they themselves had failed to follow their own rules? So they swiftly got rid of all of those rules, not because it's safe to go out now, but because they just, there was no way that they could continue to enforce people. So we are now pretending like COVID has gone away when it hasn't, and it's because Boris Johnson is a lying piece of shit with no moral integrity whatsoever. So there we go. The Daily Star, the joke, the not real newspaper, the only one with anything actually interesting to say out of all of Britain's newspapers. So that was the newspapers with Jim on Saturday, the 18th of June 2022. God save the Queen.